Hi gentlemen, this is chapter 9 of your home-based learning. We will cover ratio and rate. So some of these concepts in this chapter, you would have learned it in your primary school. Whatever that we are going to cover for this topic serves to extend your knowledge that you have learned in your primary school. So for a quick recap, alright, this introduction page, a ratio defines the numerical proportion between two or more comparable quantities. Okay, you can read the examples of a ratio that's applicable to the real world in this introduction page. Alright, concept-wise, let's do a recap. On page 3, a ratio is used to compare two or more quantities of the same kind. Which are measured in the same units. Okay, so a very key concept here, ratio of A is to B is denoted by, alright, A is to B, okay, with a symbol of a colon, which can also be represented by a fraction A over B, where B cannot be equals to 0 if you represent it in the form of a fraction. Okay, some simple example here. How do we simplify ratio? Okay, so for the first example, 1 is to half. If we simplify it, we have to multiply by 2 on both sides. So it will become 2 is to 1. Okay, and for the next example, B, alright, 1 and 1/3 is 4 over 3. Okay, 4 and 4 over 7 is actually 24 plus 4, 32 over 7. Alright, so if I want to simplify this ratio here, okay, I can multiply both sides by 21. Okay, to get rid of the denominator, so I'll get 28 is to 96. Right, and at this point you will realize both numbers can be divided by 2, so I'll get 14 is to 48. Okay, I can still divide by 2, I'll get 7 is to 24. Alright, so this is one way to simplify. Of course, you can use your calculator. You key in one fraction over the other, your calculator will give you 7 over 24. Okay, if you key in 4 over 3 over 32 over 7, your calculator will give you 7 is to 24 directly. Alright, so another example. Alright, we have decimal ratio. If you want to simplify it, alright, so how do we do this? We can shift the decimal place. We can get 360 is to 153. And both sides, both numbers can be divided by 9, so I will get 40 is to 17. Alright, so one way to get your answer very quickly is to punch it into your calculator, 0.360 over 0.153. Okay, so your calculator will give you improper fraction 40 over 17, so you can express it as your simplified form of your ratio here. Right, so this is a very simple concept. So if a question states simplify, so you're expected to convert it into whole numbers and, alright, both sides divided by common factor. Okay, so example 2, the masses of two bags of sugar A and B are 750 grams and 1 and 1/3 kg respectively. So find the ratio of the mass of B is to the mass of A. So just now we mentioned when we express proportion in ratio, both have to be in the same units. Alright, so 750 grams and 1 and 1/3 kg, they are different units. So we have to express them in the same units. Alright, so 750 grams is actually 3 over 4 kg. Okay, if you take 750 over 1000 is 3 over 4. So for B at 1 and 1/3 is to 3 over 4. So whenever we write ratio, alright, we cannot leave it in fractions. Remember, we have to give it in terms of whole number. Alright, so when we simplify this, okay, your answer will be 9. This will be 16 is to 9. Okay, so the mass of B is to the mass of A is 16 is to 9. How do I get 16 is to 9? You can use your calculator. 1 and 1/3 divided by 3 over 4. So you get 16 over 9 as an improper fraction and express it as a ratio. Okay, so next, example 3. The question here are saying 23 is to 46 and 1 over 6 is to 1/3 equivalent ratio. So how are we going to compare? Alright, one easy way is to convert these two fractions into whole numbers. Okay, this proportion. So 1 over 6 is to 1 over 3. Okay, so what we can do here, some common factor, 3 times 6 is 18. So we can do times 3 times 18 times 18. Okay, so 1 over 6 times 18 we'll get 3. 1 over 3 times 18 we'll get 6. Alright, so is 3 over 6 the same as 23 over 46? Alright, 23 over 46, if we simplify it, okay, we can see that both sides we can divide by 23, so it will be 1 is to 2. So if in fact, alright, both simplify to the same ratio, 1 is to 2. Alright, so therefore, okay, 23 is to 46 and 1 over 6 is to 1/3 are equivalent. Okay, so we end with a conclusion. So in general, the ratio is said to be in the simplest form when A and B are integers with no common factor other than 1. Okay, so A and B have to be integer. If you are told to simplify, you have to express as integer. So for similar or equivalent fraction, equivalent ratios can be obtained by multiplying or dividing both parts by the same constant. So in this previous example here, we multiply both parts by 18. Alright, and this one we divide both by 23. Divide by 23, divide by 23. Okay, so that's what this conclusion here is stating. Alright, let's look at activity 1, making sense of the relationship between ratios and fractions. Okay, so there are 40 green balls and 60 red balls in the bag. So let G and R represent the number of green balls and red balls respectively. Find the ratio of G is to R. So if we just take the values that are given, 40 is to 60, but when we express our answer as a ratio, we always have to simplify. Okay, so 40 is to 60, we can divide both sides by 10, 20. Divide both sides by 20, so I'll get 2 is to 3. Okay, divide by 20, divide by 20. Okay, highest common factor. So we can conclude that the ratio of G is to R is 2 is to 3. So the following statement is equivalent to the above statement. So G, alright, if we compare the numerical value of G, G is 2/3 of R. Okay, so we convert the ratio into a fraction form. So G over R is 2 over 3. Okay, in terms of a fraction. Alright, so we can express the proportion as a fraction as well as in the form of a ratio. They are both interchangeable depending on the question you are dealing with. Alright, so part B, find the ratio of R is to G, 60 is to 40. Okay, so we know the common factor just in part A, so which is 3 is to, you get 3 is to 2, we divide by 20, divide by 20. So we can conclude that ratio of R is to G is 3 is to 2. So following statement is equivalent to the above statement. So if you express as a fraction, right, R will be 3 over 2 times of G. Okay, you check the value, 60 is 3.5 times of 40. I mean one and a half times, 3 over 2, 1.5 times of 40. Okay, so R over G is 3 over 2. Okay, but we are expected to draw a model to illustrate the relationship of G and R. So we know the proportion of G is to R or R is to G, right? So we can make use of the ratio to display the number of units of proportion. So G is 2 units, R will be 3 units. Alright. In general, using ratios to compare two quantities of the same units is equivalent to using fractions. Okay, so we have another example here. Given that 3x is to 7 equals to 8 is to 5, right? So how do we find the value of x? We can convert these two set of ratios into fractions. So 3x over 7 equals to 8 over 5. Alright, so in this case, we can do a cross multiplication. 5 times 3x will be equals to 7 times 8. 15x will be equals to 56. Okay, so if you want to find the value of x, you will take 56 divided by 15. Alright, so if you use a calculator, you will get your exact answer. X is 311 over 15. Okay,